Hey, how are you doing today? This is William Bibbs with Free Power, and Aptera put out another video today, and we're gonna look at what they did. All right, so let's get into it. All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to talk about what Aptera did. They came out with another video. It's talking about the suspension and the frame of the body. And so we're going to take a look at that and go over some of what they did. And so let's get into it.
Hey Aptera fans, I'm Nathan Engler, lead of the Chassis and Suspension Zone. Today we'll be showcasing some of our engineering presentation, which will go over technical information that we share when presenting to investors. We'll be reviewing chassis, suspension, and some of our crash simulations. Enjoy!
So Nathan Engler is heading up our chassis and suspension team. This team is responsible for developing the chassis and obviously our suspension system, and also going to morph into this new role of leading our validation, homologation, and testing team in the next few months.
And this is the same Nathan that did the moose test and the brake test with the beta, and also which we'll get into later on. And actually, I showed suspension videos with him testing the suspension and all that. So let's get back into it.
A really interesting point, maybe a different company or a larger company would have a team, a chassis team that's constantly creating new chassis for new vehicles. But we're laser focused on this vehicle right now. So he's able to take his team, because they have done this kind of validation work in the past, and transform them into the validation and testing team.
This is a good rendering of the current status of the structural battery frame.
I think one of the big things that happened when we started talking with CPC and ETP is they said, create a load path from the front suspension to the rear, and everything gets a lot easier.
Yes, and we will see that in the next few slides, but this architecture also allows us again to go back to the famous 12 minutes cycle time. We can build this frame with the suspension components on a sub-assembly line, and then marry it with the bink at a later point in the assembly line.
And what I like about how the frame of the body is, I mean, it's so small and simple, it kind of looks like a go-kart, but yet it's so well engineered and sophisticatedly put together, but at the same time, it's relatively simple. And so you can see that that's all throughout the design of the Aptera. They're keeping everything simple, but yet they're upgrading it to where it'll keep you safe. And they'll talk more about that as we go along in the video.
This is the front end of the vehicle, again, very modular. It's an unequal A-arm setup. We brought the shocks and suspension components to the center of the vehicle, centralizing the center of gravity into the nose of the vehicle. And again, as we said, it's a modular setup. So I think Sandy Monroe is in love with the idea of creating sub-assembly lines where you can put components together. This whole front end can be put together in one station and then installed into the frame and then into the vehicle at a later time. And we can allows us to play with the location of the assembly lines.
Right. When this sub-assembly is presented to the line doesn't care if it's made in wherever, whatever state or whatever country even. So that gives us the flexibility to make these wherever it makes sense.
Yep.
But then it's just a simple attachment to the vehicle.
and that fits really well into Pablo's plan of world domination. He really wants to build Apteras in every corner of the world, and this type of approach allows us to do that. It also reduces the costs and the risks, and later on quality problems. This is
And that's what I like about Pablo. Very um, he really enthusiastic about getting Aptera all around the world, as all of us who are part of Aptera's family. We really love Aptera a lot, and we want the whole world to become a part of the family and get involved with Aptera, because it's not only going to help them and the money as far as charging is concerned, because we know that most people drive less than 40 miles a day and they could get all their charging from the sun, but it'll basically, and this is one of the main reasons, is to help clear all the CO2 from out of the earth. Because if we're not putting it up there, then it's pretty much gonna we won't be adding to the climate warming or the global warming. And we know that he is a very good engineer, as we're going to talk about in this next option here. But when they do the substations, because you could tell when you look at the frame of the model that it's very simple to put that together. And so, yeah, let's look at this.
The rear suspension architecture.
All the other three-wheelers out there have single-sided swing arms. The problem is that as that swing arm moves in the rear, the tire actually gets closer and further away from the front suspension as you accelerate and decelerate, and it gives you some interesting, odd suspension characteristics that you kind of feel when you're driving. But this four-link suspension lets the rear wheel float very predictably up and down evenly with the front suspension, so you don't feel it when you're stopping or accelerating. It feels just like any other kind of four-wheel vehicle.
Single-sided swing arm, since it made that rear wheel move so much, it just makes the car feel kind of weird when you're driving it. Basically, it was designed for a motorcycle, but here with the four-link rear arm, it really basically stabilizes the rear wheel, and it makes it drives like a four-wheel vehicle. So, I mean, I don't know that for sure. I have to wait until I get my Aptera to see. But according to what they're saying, that's basically what it's doing.
Four-wheel vehicle you drive.
Yeah, the single-sided swing arm or a long swing arm works really well for a motorcycle that has a different geometry, different CG than we do. This setup is ideal for our architecture.
And patented.
Patented, yes. As we said earlier, and we will show you in a little bit, actually next slide, we have done a lot of computer analysis on the structure to increase the level of safety, and also to predict how the vehicle is going to behave once we're in production. And that this type of analysis allows us to not only to make it safer, but also speed up the development process. Switching to the structural battery frame idea architecture allows us to drive the forces, the energy in an impact, like a frontal impact or a side impact, corner impact, underneath the drivers and the passenger instead of into the actual structure. Not only makes it safer, it also makes it easier to repair, easier to service later on in the field.
And even though you get increased vehicle torsional rigidity from the structural battery pack, it still allows the impact forces to go past the battery pack.
Important to note that the heaviest mass item of the vehicle is the battery, right? So try to put all the impact loads into the highest mass item, and that's exactly what this does. So I love it.
And
so that's also what I like about what they're doing. The frame is also, when it's impacted, it absorbs all the energy and forces it around the battery pack and the passengers instead of impacting them directly. So Aptera, they have really thought about everything. And, they really didn't have to do all this because it's not really a car. It's a auto cycle. But yet they are looking out for your safety. And, I just love that about this company. there's just nothing that you can find bad in this company.
The other thing is these obviously modern tools that allow us to analyze it. We know how aluminum works, right. So it's very makes it very, very predictable, and reduces the risk of tooling something up. So we can eliminate some intermediate steps in the development of this whole entire project because we can predict how these components are going to behave.
That's a really good point. This SMC material from CPC, along with the aluminum, both which are well understood in their behavior, they can be modeled perfectly, so we don't have to do destructive testing. We can have high degree of confidence of the simulation versus real world testing.
And a lot of things that we do in digital, then we also test in an empirical manner, so out in the field. And again, going back onto Nathan's team and chassis and suspension, this is what they do, and they will be continuing doing, taking the digital data and predictions and make sure that the real world behaves exactly the same way as in the computer.
Yeah, the previous frame analysis was really finite element analysis, how that material changes on impact and under stress. But we also have simulations on how the vehicle moves and what the kinematics are of the vehicle. And that helps us with analyzing things like how will the vehicle react in curb strikes, and how will the vehicle react, on pothole tests, and, swaying back and forth and things like that. So we actually take, this is beta, instrument it up, put a lot of computers and sensors on it, and then go out and test how the vehicle actually performs in the world, so we can correlate that data to what happened in the simulation. And if you get really good correlation, then when you make a change in the future, you know that change is going to work in a predictable manner.
Yeah, and the curb strikes are pretty violent. I mean, it busted
Yeah.
all three tires, I think. Didn't just deflate them, it busted them. But it allowed us to collect the data to then put into the Adams model, so that we have a very high degree of concordance between real life and the Adams model. So like you said, we can make a small change in software and have a high degree of confidence that it's going to behave that way in real world.
And this chart shows the red line is the simulation, and the blue lines are when we actually went out and got to real world data. So we had 95% correlation, which is just amazing, and shows you how far the simulation tools have come. This is
And that is really good. That will actually save Aptera a lot of money. They really don't have to do the real world testing, because the simulation or the computer testing that they're doing, the graphics, really is so close and precise that it almost looks exactly like the real world testing. It's up to about 95%. And once again, they're going to save so much money by doing that, as well as, when he did the curb strike, he hit the curb. He had to have been moving at least about 25, 30 miles an hour. Not that any one of us are going to do something like that, because we love our Aptera. We want to take care of it. Some might, but anyway, if you do happen to do that, you could see that the vehicle that they're producing for you will be able to survive something like that, and several times over. They've actually flattened tires in some of the testing they were doing. But they're really looking out for you, and they're going to give you something that's going to have longevity to it.
our suspension test jig. Our engineers were considering what wires to use to go to the in-wheel motor out on the wheel, and what cooling tubes to use, and how they would stand up over time. And the only way to really understand it is to test it. So this guy's been running for a couple months and already has about 200,000 plus miles of durability on it. But it goes up and down, and it turns the wheel, and it shows you how those cables and hoses are going to rub over time.
And it was really helpful, because a lot of our assumptions about how to fix the cables and hoses, or not to, how they would be captured or allowed to slide. Some of those concepts were jettisoned, and some of those were reaffirmed. And so we were able to learn that early on with this, and have a high degree of confidence, so we can get, many, many miles durability out of those systems.
This is a good example of some of the areas that there's no historical data for it. So there's nobody out there doing the same thing. So we couldn't just go back and say, hey, what did some other OEM do in this situation? This is our own unique setup, and we are learning as we are doing it.
To view the unedited presentation, please join our Accelerator program at invest.aptera.us.
So once again, Aptera is doing everything they can to make sure they're giving you something that's going to have longevity and it's going to last a very long time. When they were doing the test on the wheel and the hoses, you could see that that was actually running, according to what Steve said, about up to 200,000 miles of movement. And of course, you're going to have wear on the hoses where they're rubbing up against each other and other components in the front suspension and rear suspension. And so they're keeping data on that. They said that no OEM are actually doing that. No automotive company is doing that. And so they're the first. So Aptera is really looking out for you. That's why I love this company. These guys are awesome. And, you know, they're just going to bring you the best vehicle that's ever going to hit the market. And so I can't wait till they come out. I know it's going to be nice. And so let's go ahead and look at the Accelerator program. Let's see what's happening there. And yesterday I got a surprise. Let's see what's going to happen today. All right, come up. Let's see what we got here. And okay, so now we are up to, okay, yes, we're up to 435 subscribers. Once again, I expect this to go ahead and pick up real fast as we get closer to the end of this month. So we're up to 6.17 million, and RP is still in the lead. RP is really throwing down, and that's really good news. Everybody on this list is really doing good. And so if you want to invest in Aptera and you got $10,000, this would be the page to come to. But if you want to get an Aptera and design your own vehicle, then you could go ahead and click on my link, and I'm going to show you in a minute. You could click on this link right here and use the link, and it will take $30 off your down payment. So all you have to do is put down $70, and all that is refundable. All of it is refundable. So it would be good to go ahead and jump on the Aptera bandwagon now. And like I said, you know, this is like getting early in on Tesla or Apple when they first started. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. You need to talk to your own financial advisor, but that is the best way to do it. And so if you're interested in Aptera, they're going to do everything they can to make sure you get the best aerodynamic, less drag coefficient vehicle on the planet, the simplest vehicle where you don't even have to charge up if you drive less than 40 miles a day. And how can you not get excited for Aptera? Oh my goodness. So if this is your first time on my channel, please subscribe, hit the bell, and hit the like button, and you'll catch all my new videos when they come out. And once again, Aptera is going to take care of you. So y'all take care, keep an eye out, keep an ear open, and we'll be here for you. All right, you have a good one. Goodbye.